Well, talking in general about the space program, you know, I've seen it from Alan Shepard's flight 50 years ago, May 5, 1961. That was the first man-rated rocket that I ever saw launched, and that was the beginning of human spaceflight for this country. And we were trying to catch the Russians at that time, and we were a bunch of young guys and gals that really didn't know much about rocketry or space travel, and we were learning as we went along. In fact, the average age of mission control in those days was 26. The astronauts were the oldest guys in the whole program, were the astronauts. Engineers and scientists were much younger. And you know, I look back on that time, and it was a very satisfying period of time. We were fortunate to have a president who recognized the country had some capability, but it was not being challenged. And you know, the Russians came along and launched Yuri Gagarin, and that triggered Jack Kennedy, the President Jack Kennedy, to look at the situation and say, why can't we do that? And consequently he did. And he challenged us. And this community stood up. The Rocket City, Huntsville, Alabama, stood up and said, you know, we can be counted on. We can participate. You couldn't go in a building in the 60s in this town and not hear 4 words: man, Saturn, moon, decade. We had a slogan on the wall, basically said, late to bed, early to rise, work like hell, and advertise. And we had the man who could take the message, and that was Warner Von Braun. And we utilized his ability to reach Congress, reach the public, and we took off with that program. And in 8 years, from the design board to the day Neil Armstrong walked on the moon, was 8-year span of time. And Saturn was the delivery system. That was the transportation system that made it all happen. I had an opportunity to see about 45 ground tests of the Saturn V booster here. And I wish you had that opportunity, because it's nothing like standing 2,000 feet away from a booster firing, generating 7.5 million pounds of thrust, which is equivalent to 160 or so, 160 million horsepower. To watch that powerful machine being turned on and performing right in front of your eyes, and learning how we were able to build those machines, test them, and then eventually send them to the Cape and launch them. So it was a wonderful time. I asked Alan Shepard, you know, a couple of times, you know, what was it like on the moon? You know, he said, you know, I got up one morning and looked out the window of the lunar module, and I saw the Earth out there. And he said, I could cover the Earth up with my thumb. And he said, I realized how far I was from my home planet, 240,000 miles away, and I could cover it up with my thumb. And that was Shepard's experience on the moon. And all those guys have great stories to tell. We have 9 of them still living today, moonwalkers. And I tell the public when I go out, remember, there's only one country that's ever been out of Earth orbit, and that's the United States of America. And we went out of Earth orbit 9 times. 20-some astronauts flew outside of Earth orbit. And our guys are the only astronauts to ever hear the term, you are a go for TLI. That's translunar insertion. And when you hear that, you know that the 3rd stage is going to kick on, and it's going to launch you on a path to the moon. And we're the only country that's ever done that. We haven't done it since 1972, but we are the only country to ever place a human outside of Earth orbit.